And good evening, everyone. Welcome to another exciting Saturday Night Wine Stream and another exciting edition of Drink with Rick. I'm Rick, and tonight we are going to be tasting a Chianti. Yes, a Chianti. It's been a little while since we've done one. We're going to do one tonight, and there's a specific reason why we are doing a Chianti. And I'll explain that as we get further down into the stream. So I'll keep you on the edge of your seat wondering what it is about this Chianti that makes it so different that I'm tasting it tonight. I'll tell you in just a little while. But first, I want to welcome you. I want to welcome everyone to the chat. Everything looks like it's up and running tonight pretty well. Twitter, Twitch, everything is working. And Twitch is there. CM Cinder is there. Hi, CM Cinder, waving at me. And I'll wave right back at you. It's great to see you in the chat. And let's see, anything else going on YouTube just yet? Not yet. And Facebook is quiet at first. It's usually the first half hour or so before things start picking up. I'll tell you what, though, we have a very, very interesting show tonight. It's going to be kind of packed and it's going to be interesting, but hopefully we'll have a lot of you here in the chat and we can make it even more exciting. And I'm looking forward to that because this show, Drink with Rick, is not about me, and it's not about, it's a little bit about the wine, but it's mostly about you and me getting together and just having a good time on a Saturday night, putting aside all of our political and religious differences and all the other strife that's going on, and just sit back, everybody together, and having a great time. That's what this show is all about. That's what we're going to do tonight. We have some birthdays to toast, an anniversary to toast, a couple of anniversaries to toast, of course, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit special in that regard, in regards to one of the anniversaries, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But I want to say, if you're joining me for the first time, this is a stream of consciousness kind of show. I do have show notes, and they're right here, as a matter of fact, but I don't really have a script here. This is really a stream of consciousness kind of show. It's you and me getting together, and Ed's right here in the chat. Ed's joining the chat, and Ed says Facebook is up, and I'm glad you're here, Ed. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. I'm happy to see you here, and the more the merrier. The more the merrier. Where was it? Oh, yes. This is a stream of consciousness kind of show, as it just demonstrated, and I'm not a sommelier. I'm not a professional wine taster. I'm just an everyman that likes to drink wine. Just like 99.9% of everyone else who drinks wine out there, I'm just enjoying a good bottle of wine. And I'll give you my take, my everyman take on it. And you can take it or leave it as you will. But I think it's a little bit, I'm not putting down the sommeliers. I'm not putting down the professionals. It's just that everybody has their own taste in wine. And just because they might like the wine doesn't mean you and I will. And just because I like it doesn't necessarily mean you will. So it's a matter of taste. It really is. It's all subjective. It is. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. If you're joining me also for the first time, you can join me on my Facebook page, Drink with Rick. That's on Facebook. We're live streaming on Facebook. You join me in the chat here. And you can join me also on YouTube. We have a chat going on YouTube, so check us out on YouTube and joining the chat there. I'm checking in on that. And Twitch. We're live on Twitch, and that's a fun place to be, and it's kind of growing for us at this point. A lot of people in the food and drink, really enjoying the food and drink streams on Twitch these days. And on Periscope and Twitter. We have a live show going on Twitter. You can tweet me there as well. Also, we're at drinkwithrick.com. That's drinkwithrick.com, and you can join me there. And I don't have a live chat going there right now, but you can click on the post that this live stream is going to, and a comments box will pop up, and you can leave me comments, and I'll respond in kind. Also, our podcast goes up Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's the podcast version of this. So if you miss the wine stream, or if you're multitasking or driving around or whatever, and you can't be watching the show, you can certainly listen to it as you do other things. So you can check it out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite Android device. Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and also email. You can also subscribe to my email, and you'll get the latest episode in your inbox whenever it drops down, as soon as it does. Also, of course, you can contact me for any reason whatsoever at rick@savoyamedia.com. That's rick at SAVOIAMEDIA.com. Many of you have. And I really appreciate it. Ed says might not last the whole show. Well, I hope you can stick with us, Ed. If not, though, I understand. It's perfectly all right. These shows have been going kind of long, and I'm trying not to keep them long. I'm trying to keep them down to an hour and a half or less. But we've been going on long, pretty. Last few weeks we have, and I'm trying to kind of pare that back a little bit, keep us down to an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half. Trust me, it doesn't help the bandwidth to go that on too long, so it costs me. So we're going to try to keep it down a little bit tonight. So I hope you'll stick around for all of that. So let's get to looking at the wine. Also, I almost forgot. I've got an announcement coming up about the 29th and 30th for International Podcast Day, and I just want to let you know about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a pretty big event for us. Anyway, so here is the wine that we're going to be drinking. This is a Gaetano D'Aquino Chianti Reserva. This is an Italian wine. It's from Italy. It's a Chianti Reserva, and this wine, this is a 2016. And there isn't a whole lot about this wine, but I'll tell you what, it's readily available from Trader Joe's, and it's a pretty reasonable price. That's one of the reasons. Now, that's one of the reasons that I purchased this wine, because we're trying to stick to some of the budget wines right now, so we can really talk about those. But there's another reason too that I'll get out once again later on in the show. Here's the back of the wine. I'm going to read the back of this wine, and we'll learn a little bit more about it. It is a Gaetano D'Aquino Chianti, and this is in this Reserva 2016, and it says, one of the greatest Italian wines. It is suitable with every dish, and especially with barbecue. Oh, I didn't know that, barbecue. I should have had some barbecue tonight. Serve at room temperature, uncorking 1 hour before enjoying it. Uncorking 1 hour before you enjoy it. Well, I've got to cork it for 1 hour before I pour it and drink it. I don't know about that. Not happening tonight. There is 13% alcohol by volume in this 750 milliliter bottle of Chianti. Now, yeah, obviously, if we can't do that tonight, if I uncork it and let it sit around for an hour before we drink it, that's this show's going to be mostly over by then. I think everybody will leave, because what are we going to do staring at this bottle of wine for an hour? No, that's not going to happen. But I'll tell you what is going to happen. I am going to open this bottle, and we'll use my aerator to kind of help that along, to help aerate the wine along. My trusty aerator from the Veneto Wine Lover says, Veneto aerator. I'll bring that out in just a moment. Let me check the chats one more time before we get any farther. Tom Antio says hi. Hi right back at you, Tom Antio. Glad you're here. And let's see what else is going on. So let's go ahead and open this bottle of Chianti, because apparently the sooner the better, right? Apparently, according to the label. Let me get my foil cutter going here. That was easy. And then we'll, and I have to do this down here because, no, I'm not switching bottles, okay? I don't switch bottles anyway down here. No, I'm really opening this bottle of wine. But you got to trust me on that. But I'm opening down here because it's easier to do that when I'm sitting down than it is from a position way up here. And let's see if I can get this situated here. Okay. And we got it almost. There we go. That's a healthy pop. Looks like the it looked like the cork was cracking a little bit, but I think I kind of dug into the side of the cork a little. So there is the bottle. It is open, and to aerate it, to help it along, to help it breathe, we're going to use this Veneto aerator from the Veneto Wine Lovers set. This is available, the whole set, which includes the foil cutter and the corkscrew and a few other items there. Most all that we tried in the past, actually, I've demonstrated them all before. They're all available in one package in a set for $19.99 from Amazon, or at least they were $19.99 last I checked. You can buy these separately, of course, also from Amazon, and I think they're about between $10 and $11, something like that, maybe a little less than that, maybe 10 bucks, yeah. Anyway, if you're interested, there is a link, or there actually is a banner on my website at drinkwithrick.com, and you can make a purchase there. Now, in the past, I did not have my my affiliate link up there in the past, but I have this past weekend reestablished my affiliate link with Amazon. So if you do click on it, or any of the books that are up there, like the books that we've given away in the past, and you purchase one of those online, a portion of that will go towards the show. That'll help support the show. Meager contributions at best, but they will definitely help support the show, and it would be much appreciated. You don't have to click on the link there if you don't want to, but just saying, it'll be much appreciated. Anyway, so we've got the we have the aerator in the bottle, and we have this wonderful glass to pour it in and to hold the nectar. And that is, this is my Galway genuine Irish crystal glass from the Galway. This is actually from Ireland. This is originally from Ireland, and it was given to me by my employers at BuyTwoWayRadios.com. We're going to go ahead and pour the nectar into the glass a little bit. Just a little bit for starters. We're going to give it just a little whiff and a sniff and a sip, a little taste. And I can smell, I can get a little aroma here. While we're letting that breathe a little bit, we're going to go ahead and learn a little bit more about this wine. Let me see what I have on here. I looked it up in a couple of places, and once again, it's mostly at Trader Joe's, and there's not much more on that, but I can tell you what I paid for it, and I saw it priced in various places, priced overseas for about $15. I'm not sure why, but Trader Joe's has it, and I can tell you what I paid for it. This is my receipt from Trader Joe's, the genuine receipt from Trader Joe's in my area in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I paid $5.99 for this bottle of wine. Now, it is a very budget wine, and there are some Chiantis that are that way, and there's some Chiantis that are not great wines, and some that really are pretty good. This one, we'll see where this one stands. We'll see where if it measures up and how it measures up. But I will tell you that it does it gets kind of a median rating online from what I've checked. So we'll see. This is the grapes. This is the Sangiovese grapes, and it is from Toscana, Italy. It is a Chianti. And 13% alcohol, it says, although I've seen online it says anywhere from 12.5 to on up. So that really, I think that's really about what to expect from this. Probably on the upper end of it, 13.5%, maybe higher. I don't trust what it says on the label when it comes to alcohol by volume anymore, and we've talked about that many times before. I'm not going to go into it tonight, but what I will do is give it a whiff and see what we've got. See what we have here. Very, very cherry, and smells a little earthy. Maybe a little strawberry in there. Get some strawberries, some definitely some red fruit that I'm smelling, and it's smells a little oaky actually. We'll give it a taste. Now, hopefully it's not going to be like that guacamole we had a couple of weeks ago, where I smelled it was oaky and earthy, and it was really more so than I expected. Let's see. cherry, cherry, and a little strawberry. Maybe a touch of cranberry in there too. Let's see what else we got there. A little bit of cranberry. And it is a little earthy, not a whole lot. It's a little earthy, kind of oaky, but a little hint of chocolate in there, I think. And I like the chocolate notes. Let me give it another whiff. Not too bad. It's just a hint oaky, and the earthiness in it seems to have subsided somewhat. But there's a lot of cherry and cranberry in here. I think it's kind of a mix, and it's kind of a medium. This is I kind of thought when I first poured it in it was kind of light bodied, but it's actually a medium bodied wine. And I can tell, I can see through that. It's a very nice color. This wine does have a very nice. It has kind of almost a cranberry color to it. Now, it's kind of hard to tell from the lights, from where you can see where the camera's hitting it, because everything hitting the camera. Well, maybe not. Let's see. Let's hold it up a little bit more. As you can see, it's not as dark as some of the other wines we've had in the past. So, yeah, it's actually kind of nice. It's kind of nice. It looks really, it has a beautiful look to it, actually. It is somewhat tannic. There's some tannin in it. There's quite a bit of tannin in it, actually, and it's very dry. This is very dry, which is not surprising. Chiantis are generally dry wines, but this is a very dry Chianti. Very dry, not a very long finish, and it is somewhat acidic. It is somewhat acidic, but it's not a long finish, but it's a nice one. It kind of trails off very nicely, and it's pretty good. Actually, I kind of like this wine, and for $5.99, that's not a bad Chianti. I had a couple other Chiantis. I had another Chianti earlier. No, it was late last week. And it was okay. It started off okay, but as I uncorked it and I couldn't finish the whole thing, and I put it in the fridge, and then the next day I opened it up and I finished it, but it wasn't as good as when I first opened it. I like this one. I like this. This is not a bad, especially with the price, it's not bad. But I tell you what, we have some foods to pair it with, and I did forget about that, didn't I? Before we get to the foods, let's check the chat again. And my wife Cheese in the chat, my lovely wife Cheese, she says, "Hello, handsome." Well, thank you, honey. I appreciate that. Hello right back at you. And Ed is in the chat. My good friend Ed. That was great. Edward Panis is in the chat. We have two Eds in the chat, so I've got to make that distinction. Both good friends of mine. There's Ed Anthony and Ed Panis, and Ed's in the chat. And great to see you. Stick around, Ed. We're going to have some fun. And he says, "Cheers, Rick," and cheers right back at you, Ed. I hope you and Shelley are doing very, very well. Ed, by the way, is doing his 25, he's got a challenge going on, 25 days of doing 25 push-ups, right? And you're what, you're 8 days in now? 8 or 9 days in now? Something like that. I lost count, but I was checking in on a number of the days watching your videos and such. He puts up a video every day where he does the push-ups, and Ed Anthony says, 2 Eds are better than 1. Yes, always, yes, always. And both of them are great guys with a great sense of humor, and it's just yeah. The more Eds, the more the merrier. That's what I say. The more the merrier. Let's check on Twitch for just a moment. Make sure everything's going on. Let's see. Everything's kind of quiet there at the moment. People tend to trickle into Twitch after about the first 20, 30 minutes. So I've learned how this sort of thing works, the way the chats are working tonight during the summer. As we get towards autumn, as we get into autumn and into the winter months, I think that we're going to find folks getting into the chats a little bit earlier in the evening, and provided I don't go too late with this show, sticking around most of the time. Now I'm going to show you what we're having here for the plate tonight. And we're going to be pairing this wine with some food. We're going to be pairing it with some steak. This is a T-bone or porterhouse steak that my lovely wife Chi made for us tonight. Thank you, Chi. Appreciate it. And some spaghetti and meatballs, or not meatballs, meat sauce. Spaghetti and meat sauce, which she also made. and some crackers and brownies. She just finished these brownies. They're still nice and warm. I tell you what, brownies may go pretty good with wine. We have some cheeses here too. We have a Gruyere cheese, I believe from Trader Joe's. We have a cheddar, a medium cheddar, and we have, of course, the famous Trader Joe's double cream Gouda, which we've never had a miss on, and has made some of the wines actually taste better. Some of the wines that I would have said were not great actually tasted better with the cheese. So we're going to try these out. As a matter of fact, we're going to try them out now, I think, because I think now's a good time. I'm going to pour a little bit more of this wine in, and I'm going to try it with the steak first. Now, Chiantis go pretty good with steak, and as this label said, it goes pretty well with barbecue. I can tell you it did because it said so right on the label. I don't know if you can see it there, but it says so right there on the label. We're going to try it with the steak and see how it goes. This was a good steak, by the way. And it's better now. You know, leftovers are great. There's a theory behind that, and I'll tell you why, unless you can guess. Okay. I like it with the steak. It pairs fairly well with the steak. This goes well with barbecue, according to the label, but a grilled steak, next best thing, right? Especially if it's a really nice cut of steak, I think this will work pretty well with the steak. But I tell you what, this is the signature for Chiantis, a lot of Chiantis. And what a lot of Chiantis were made for, and that is the spaghetti. Spaghetti, now not just spaghetti, but spaghetti with red tomato sauce and meat sauce. And this is why. It's because of the tannin, the strong tannin in the Chianti actually helps, because you've got that, and that acidic, because the more acidic wines, you want to go with more acidic foods. And when you have the tomato sauce like this, and meat sauce, and the spaghetti, they should work out very, very nicely. We'll try it with this. This is a good spaghetti too, by the way. Also leftovers, but good. Oh yeah, nice. Goes really well with the spaghetti. I like that. I'm gonna have to try that again. Hey, I did have dinner, but you know what? This is too good to pass up. It really is. Go with this good spaghetti. I'll try it with the wine. Yes. It's like almost a perfect match with the spaghetti. I really, really like that. I'll tell you what, let me clear the palate a little bit, and then we'll try it with cheeses. Clear the palate. I'll have the crackers later, maybe. I'll try it with let's try it with the Gruyere first. It's kind of a Swiss cheese. I don't know about Swiss cheese and Chianti. I'm not sure about that one. But this isn't Swiss. This is a Gruyere, but it kind of has a little Swiss twinge to it, flavor. Gruyere is really a cheese all of its own. And it's good cheese, by the way. I like a good Gruyere. Gruyere. It's actually pronounced Gruyere. Okay. Not bad. It's actually not bad. The Gruyere with the Chianti is actually not too bad. I kind of like that. Not bad. Let's try it with cheddar. You can't go wrong with the cheddar, right? Try it with the cheddar. And it's kind of a creamy medium cheddar. Should work. Again, not bad. It's okay with the cheddar. It's okay. I like that. Now, the big test here. And I tell you what, I'm going to clear the palate a little bit with cracker. and some water. Okay, let's do that, and then let's try it with the Trader Joe's Double Cream Gouda. I better refill for that, right? Okay, here's a little bit more. Trader Joe's Double Cream Gouda. Will we have another winner? We'll see. And the Gouda is very good. And yeah, I know they do pronounce it Howda, but not here in the U.S. It's pronounced Gouda. Should I say it? Need I say it? Does it need to be said? No. Trader Joe's Double Cream Gouda, once again, with this wine, with this Chianti, is another winner. Was that a big surprise? I don't think so. I think I'd be more surprised if it didn't, but it works pretty well. It works very well. I like that. Yeah, very good. All right. We'll try it with the brownie at the end of the show. Dinner before dessert, right? That's what my mom always taught me. And, well, my mom always also taught me to chew my meat 30 times before I swallow it, right? I think I only did about 26. I don't know. I wasn't counting. Okay, so we've got well, I'll give the final review on this at the end of the show. I'll do that. But so far, I'm liking this wine a lot, and we're going to go down a little bit into the bottle and see if it's still the same later or if it's improved any. We'll see. We'll find out. In the meantime, Penny is in the chat with us. Penny, it's great to see you. My sister Penny. Penny says, I've seen that wine but have never bought it. Now I will. Yes, please do. This is really a pretty good buy. For $5.99 for this Chianti, it's a pretty good buy. I wonder if you can guess, Penny, right offhand. There's another significance as to why I've chosen a Chianti tonight. I wonder if you can guess what it is before I get to that point. But we're going to be doing that here shortly. Before we do, though, let me check Twitch just a moment. Oh, add me, friend one is in the chat. It says, looking good, Ricky. Add me, friend one. It's great to see you. I'm glad you're here. And Ostrus Puxy says, got any scotch, brother? Not tonight. It's all wine. But you can drink whatever you want. Look, this show is about, we do the wine here, but you don't have to drink the wine. If you're not into wine, like Ed, if you're not into wine, you don't have to be into wine. This is about us getting together and drinking whatever you want to drink. Or don't drink anything at all if you don't want to drink anything at all. Although I don't recommend that because the way these shows have been going, you might get a little dehydrated. But I will say, you can drink whatever you want. You can drink beer, scotch, water, scotch and water. You can drink, whatever you want to drink. Just enjoy it and just sit back and enjoy the show. Ostrich Puxy says, what kind of cheese would you have with wine? Well, the ones that we tried with this one tonight were there was a Trader Joe's Gruyere, and I had a cheddar that came from our local supermarket. I don't know what the brand was. And then we had the Trader Joe's Double Cream Gouda, and I really like the Double Cream Gouda with that, by the way. All right, so let's go right to, we've got a lot of things going on. Aha, Penny guessed it. Penny, I got to send you some. Let's see, you have some coasters already. You and Tom have coasters. But yeah, Penny, you guessed it. I'm not going to say just yet, but if you're in the Facebook chat, you'll see that Penny guessed it. That's for Penny. Toast to Penny. All right, so let's go right into the birthdays before we get too far into it. My first birthday toast, as a matter of fact, we're going to start doing the birthday toast right now. Let me see what we got here. Ah, yes, got to bring the fireworks up, right? Have to have the fireworks. So the first birthday toast goes to my good friend Lillian. Lillian Rothfuss, her birthday was yesterday, 9/11 Friday. And Lillian and I go way back. To WOFL way back, another WFL alumnus, and she was very instrumental in helping me out when I went into a kind of a funk for a little while. I was in a little bit of a funk for a while and a little depressed quite a bit, and she loaned me a book. Actually, she gave it to me. That she said, you know what? I don't like seeing you this way, Rick. I want you to read this book. And so I read this book, and it was very, very uplifting, and it got me to thinking. It kind of pulled me out of that funk, and she was very instrumental in kind of snapping me out of some of that. And then I went on to really accomplish some things while I was there at WFL, and I want to say thank you, Lil. I really do appreciate it. She probably doesn't remember that, but I do, because I don't forget things like that when people have done good things for me. I never forget that. And I want to say happy birthday to you, Lil, and may you have many, many, many more. As for Lillian, also I want to thank Julie for Julie Parker for letting me know. In a roundabout way, she let me know. And let's see, who else do we have next in the chat? Oh, in the chat, in the birthday list. The birthday list. I haven't gotten that far down the bottle, folks. I really haven't. You can see it right there, right? It doesn't take much these days, does it? I think there's more than 13% alcohol in that bottle. I can tell you that right now. So the next birthday I want to toast is for my beautiful niece, Angela, someone who is near and dear to my heart. Angela and her sister, Elisa. I've known them both since they were babies. I've known Angela since birth, and just a sweet person, very sweet person, very smart. She's very smart, and she works hard, and she's just a sweet person all around. And I do miss her. Don't get to see them enough, but Angela, I want to say here's to you. Uncle Rick says, happy birthday. Here's a toast to you, and may you have many, many more. This is from my niece, Angela. I'm going to toast her again because she's, well, I can. And there's plenty of wine in this bottle. Angela, here's to you. Happy birthday. This is for my wonderful niece, Angela. And also my good friend Molly. Today, let's see, I forgot to mention Angela's birthday's Monday. It's this coming Monday on the 14th. That's her birthday. Molly, my good friend Molly, her birthday is on Tuesday. No, I have not forgotten your birthday, Molly, and I wouldn't do that. Molly is one of the ladies who works at a wine store in Blakeney. I met her a couple of years ago when I started going into the wine store to buy my wine. And of course, I've bought a lot of these wines on the shelf from Wine Store, winestore-online.com, and they've been pretty good. Been very good. And Molly and Trish have recommended a number of really fine wines to me. They've recommended a number of those, as a matter of fact, to review. And they've been very, very good to me. Every time I go in there, they've been really good, very, very helpful. And Molly and Trish both know their wines, and they both know their customers very well. They're just really great to everybody. And I want to say, Molly, here's to you. Happy birthday coming up. This is on the 15th. It's on Tuesday, the 15th. Molly, here's to you. Happy birthday. And may you have many, many more. Looking forward to going back into a wine store to see you guys, and ladies, and everybody. As soon as this pandemic lets up. Right now, what they're doing is, of course, they've been doing curbside service before the pandemic began, but since the pandemic, and as a matter of fact, let's see, yesterday, I went up there to make a late day purchase, and all I had to do was call them and tell them what I wanted, and they had my card on file, and I just told them what I wanted, and then I just drove by there, just backed up the car, opened the trunk, and they just dropped it right in, and I just drove off. Never had to go inside the store. It's very cool. Very cool. Here's to the folks at Wine Store. Happy birthday to you, Molly. And my good friend Tom Panko. Tom, my good friend Tom, he and I go way back to WFL as well. And Tom is someone who helped helped us out quite a bit when we were starting out. We were starting a little software business. I think I've told this story before, but true story, by the way. But my buddies, Jeff Pierce and Pete Moltak, late Pete Moltak. Here's to Pete. I miss Pete. I got to toast Pete. Jeff Pierce and Pete Moltak and myself, we started a software business, and this was back in 1981, 82. And briefly, for about a year or so, it was basically mail order at the time, because the internet really wasn't available publicly. We really didn't have an internet store. It was mail order. But we sold software for computers, Commodore computers, Atari, TI-99 4As, and Coleco, and all these other game machines too. So we sold software, and Tom really helped us out in helping us get that financed and getting that going. So it was great. Really, really appreciate that. Always be grateful for Tom for that. Anyway, Tom, here's to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. And may you have many, many more. His birthday is Thursday, the 17th. And I believe, right? Is it the 17th or the 18th? I think it was. It's going to be this coming Thursday, right? 17th. I'm losing my track of time here. Being holed up here in my home office is just. Yeah, it's time for this pandemic to end. It's time for us all to get back into the office and get going here, because I'm kind of. It seems like the days will kind of run together, right? Anyway, want to go on a rant on that. But Tom, once again, is it this coming Thursday? This coming Friday? I don't remember right offhand. Let's see. No, Molly's birthday is on Thursday, and this coming Thursday, and Tom's is on Friday. That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay, I got it right now. I've got it right. Anyway, happy birthday to both of you. See, the days are all just kind of running together for me. Okay, so we have those out. I do want to go for an anniversary here that somebody's anniversary. Who was it? I forgot to write down whose anniversary it was. Can you believe that? Okay, somebody is having an anniversary today, and I forgot to write it down. My bad. I'm sorry. To whoever was having an anniversary today. Oh yes, I didn't forget. I know whose anniversary it is. From my good friend Matt and his wife, Margaret. It's their 13-year anniversary. Now, this is for Matt. Matt is the co-owner of Wine Store in Blakeney. It's like Molly works there. Matt's also there too. As a matter of fact, let me pull that up for just a minute and see if I can, without breaking anything in Facebook, because it's not hard to break something in Facebook these days. Let's see. Let's see if I can find this here just to make sure. No, I can't. All right. Well, I wanted to pull that up for just a moment. I was actually going to read it, but I'm not going to read it. It looks like they're really having a great celebration there. So to Matt and his lovely wife Margaret. So Matt and Margaret, I want to say happy anniversary. 13 years of marital bliss, and may you have many, many, many more. Here's to Matt and Margaret. Happy anniversary. And let's see, I'm friends with Margaret here too, on here as well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And they've both been in the chats many, many times, watched a number of episodes. So they're here. They may be checking in from time to time. I want to, before we get back into to toasting here, I want to check back here with the chat. Erica Trudis, I'm sorry. Erica Trudis says, hi, Rick. Cheers from Argentina. Wow. Well, here, cheers to you, too. Argentina, wow. Erica Trudis, I'm sorry. Everything's so small on the monitor these days. I can't read half of what everybody's saying nowadays. Anyway, here's to you, Erica. She says, "We know a little about wine." Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I had an Argentina wine. Let's see. It was not very long ago. It was last week, as a matter of fact. And the wine that we had last week. Let me see if I can pull it up for just a moment. The wine that we had last week was a Hestus, and let me see if I can pull that up. No, so that's not that one. It was this one. This was a Hestus wine, and we had this, and it was very, very good. I really like. This was from Mendoza, and it was a very, very good wine. I rather enjoyed it. It was excellent, and I recommend it. It's a Hestus. Argentina. Yes, you all definitely know a thing or two about wine in Argentina. I can say that. Erica says yes, it's an altitude wine. Yes, it is. Malbec and Malbec. We did cover that last week. Malbec and Malbec. There were two different Malbecs, two different grapes grown at two different altitudes, and then blended together. It made for a very good wine. I was really impressed with it. I really was impressed with it. I'm going to buy a couple more bottles of that, as a matter of fact. And I think that one they had at Trader Joe's, as a matter of fact. They had it at our local Trader Joe's. They were just kind of debuting it there. And I want to say, let me see, I still have a receipt for that. It was, no, maybe it's not on this one. Oh, yes, it is, right here. It says $8.99 a bottle. It was $8.99 a bottle. That was, it was a very, very good wine. I really enjoyed it. I do appreciate it. Let's see. Penny says Malbec. Yes, it was a Malbec. Malbec and Malbec, the Hestus wine. I highly recommend that wine. Definitely do. And yeah, it's right there. Malbec and Malbec. Anyway, so where was I? Oh, we were talking about, what were we talking about? Oh, anniversaries. Okay, so we did toast Matt and Margaret, and I want to toast them again. Once again, here's to Matt and Margaret. 13 years. Happy anniversary. And now, so now we get to some other anniversaries. And of course, there is an anniversary in National Days. There's National Days I kind of want to cover here too. Before I get into some of the National Days, I do want to say September 11th, of course, that's the obvious one. That's Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance. And, the Friday yesterday, which was 9/11, the anniversary of the, the attack on the Twin Towers and on the Pentagon, and also the poor folks on the plane that went down. And they very, very brave people there on that plane that went down. Basically, they thwarted another potential attack, and we lost a lot of people that day. We lost a lot of folks on that day, and I just want to say, this is a very, very solemn thing. I'm not making light of this at all, but I do want to toast them. And I remember where I was. Everybody, do you remember where you were if you're old enough to? Because that was 18 years ago. Do you remember where you were on 9/11? I do. I remember exactly where I was. And a short story, which will probably get longer as my stream of consciousness begins to flow. That year, I was in my computer store. We had just opened earlier that year, and I was doing pretty well in the very beginning. After 9/11, and things kind of took a turn for the worse, and we're all struggling. But that day, I believe I was at work and watching this catching this on the news. We had a little TV there, and catching on the news, and then kind of watching it as I came back home. It was very, very somber. pretty horrific. And we had planned a trip. Now, a couple of months before, we had planned this trip up to Pennsylvania because my kids were both big fans of Thomas the Tank Engine. We had videos and stuff, and they were doing these Thomas events where they'd have the live Thomas, and a real life-size Thomas, and the kids could go there and have a day out with Thomas. That's what it was called, Day Out with Thomas. So they were having a few of these events around the country, and they had produced a video. One of the videos that they had produced for Thomas the Tank Engine was about this event, and we happened to purchase this video, and it was one of their favorite videos. That the kids had loved this thing. It was one of their favorites. And one day we're watching this thing, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be kind of cool to take them actually take them up there to Pennsylvania for this event? And so I told them, I said, you know what, kids, why don't we do this? Why don't we go up there and do the Thomas event? And they were both, of course, there were a couple. Only Tommy was almost 2, and he was a little bit older. But I promised him, yeah, hey, we'll take him up to see the big Thomas. So Chi and I, we worked out a plan, a whole vacation plan to go up there to Pennsylvania in September to do this. So we had everything planned out, and we had everything ready. And just a few days before we were supposed to go on our trip, that was when 9/11 hit. And of course, that kind of threw everything into turmoil because at that point, Chi and I were saying, well, maybe we should cancel this trip. I guess we're going to have to cancel this trip. What are we going to do? We can't go up there now. This is a national disaster. It's just terrible. So we almost canceled the trip, but then when President Bush got on and started telling everybody to look, if we just cower in fear and hide behind our doors, that sort of thing. I'm paraphrasing all that, but he says we can't just stop doing what we're doing in fear, because if we do that, then the terrorists win. So let's go on with our lives as normal as possible. Continue on with your plans, and live as normal as possible, and show us that we're not afraid of them. Show no fear, and so after we thought about it, we thought, well, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and take the trip. Although it was very difficult to do because of it was just so somber. Everything was just, it was a pretty tough thing to do. But we went ahead with the trip, and so we took the trip up there, and I remember driving through. We had to drive through Washington, D.C. They had everything on lockdown. We had to drive through Washington to get up there to Pennsylvania, and we drove through at night. But it was really eerie. It's just, normally when I go through, and I've been to Washington many, many times. We've driven through there, and it's always such a mess, day or night, driving around the Beltway, but. It was just weird. Nobody was around. The roads were so empty. It was kind of freaky. It was very eerie. Everything on lockdown. So we drove up there, and we stayed with some friends of ours overnight. One night when we were getting ready to go to Pennsylvania, we stopped and stayed with them overnight, and we were watching all the events, all the memorials and all the events and everything going on TV. And that's what I remember most about that trip. I remember a lot of other things about Thomas, the Thomas event and all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah, I got hurt on that trip too. That's a story for another time. But that I remember. I was in a lot of pain driving back. But overall, that's the thing that I remember the most about that whole trip was 9/11 and the aftermath of that. And it was a very, very sombering thing. I want to say to everyone who has lost a loved one there, that we're all with you, and we'll always be with you, and we'll always remember, we'll never forget. Here's to 9/11. Never forget. So we've got some other national days and things, but before we get into that, let me get the chat first. Ed says 19 years. Yes, 19 years, 18 years, or 19 years. Wow, the time's just flying so fast. It might be 19. My apologies if it is. Erica Truda says, I tried a California blend and it's really good. And well, what's the California blend? Erica Truda says, well, Rick, I have to go. Congrats. I love your channel. Kisses. And thank you, Erica. I appreciate it. Here's to you, Erica. Thank you. Stop back in anytime. Stop by anytime, please. Well, anytime we're live. Or you can catch it when we're not live, too. We have everything recorded. Stop back in if you want to catch the rest of it later. Do that. But be there for you. Let's see. Where else was I going with this? Oh yes, I have. We have some other national days to toast, but let's do that first because I have something special coming up here that I want to toast. And before we do that, let's go through some of these national days. If I can pull them back up here. September 12th is National. Is that today? 12th? Yeah, it is. September. See, I told you, time is just. I don't know where the time has gone. September 12th is National Video Games Day. Did you know that, Tommy? My son Tommy. I know he's watching. It's National Video Games Day. Here's a National Video Games Day. You remember your first video game, everybody? I remember mine. It actually wasn't Pong. It was actually my first. I take it back. Maybe it was Pong, or maybe it was Pac-Man. But I know the first one that I played on my own computer was because I had a Commodore PET computer. That was my first computer, and it had 8K of memory, a whopping 8K of memory. And we had to write our own programs in Commodore Basic and put them in. And there was a program that, and you could buy them on cassette tapes too. You could put the little cassette tape in there and it'd take like 15 minutes to load the program. But I think the first game I ever played on that, it was a game where you had an asterisk shooting periods and another asterisk. It was sort of like a Space Invaders kind of game or something, but it was just had like two little asterisks that you can move around, and then they would just shoot periods, the other asterisks, to try to destroy the other asterisk. That was my first game. So it goes way back. I go way back on some of this stuff. But I remember typing in code by hand in Commodore Basic just to get some of these games. But they've come a long way since then. Like I said, my buddies and I started a software company, and we were selling some of these games for a lot of these different computers. My first computer that could really play games on, that had a lot of graphics on it, was a VIC-20, a Commodore VIC-20, and then I moved up to a Commodore 64. And one of the most popular personal computers or home computers that at that time that had ever existed. It was just unbelievably popular, and they had great graphics and did a lot with what little it had in it. It was just amazing. I was going to say that someone told me, I know another guy, his name was Rick too. He had Commodore 64s, and he was part of our Commodore club for a while, and he confided in me. He also worked at NASA. Yeah, he worked at NASA. He confided in me one time, and he said, "Did you know?" He says, "I was working on some of these, on some stuff with the space shuttle and some of the old computers. They're replacing some of the old computers with the space shuttle." And he says, "Did you know that I opened up the bay for the space shuttle, and I saw basically the same chips and the same board in there that I've got in my Commodore 64." And that's what was flying some of those ships. And he didn't tell me in confidence, so I don't think it's a big deal to say. At the time, that was a big technology, but I mean, it was just, that's what was basically running, the same processors that were running some of those things and getting to the moon. You know what got us to the moon? What got us to the moon were computers that did not even have the computing power of what's in some of our calculators today, what's in your smartwatch. It wasn't even close to it. It's amazing how far we've come with technology. The thing is, just that little bit of technology that they had got us to the moon and back, and then the shuttles, with the shuttle program for so many years. But and I don't know for sure that that's true or not. That's what he told me. But he worked on a lot of Commodore computers, and he worked on the shuttle. So I guess that's what he said. That's what he said. I don't know. Anyway, National Chocolate Milkshake Day is today. National Chocolate Milkshake Day. National Day of Encouragement. I encourage everyone to have a glass of wine right now. So this is I'm contributing to this National Day of Encouragement. Everyone, toast to National Day of Encouragement. I encourage everyone to toast now. It's also National Report Medicare Fraud Day. Report Medicare fraud, please. National Report Medicare Fraud Day. And if there is anyone committing Medicare fraud, please stop. National Programmers Day, the 256th day of the year. There's some significance to that, 256. And I'm not even going to go there right now because I can get a long thing about that. But 256 is if you know anything about programming, that's why it's on the 256th day of the year. Okay, 0 to 255. That's as far as I'll go with that. But I'll let you figure it out. Otherwise, we're going to be talking for another 2 hours, and we can't do that. Tomorrow, September 13th. National Kids Take Over the Kitchen Day. Let's see. How about Ben? How about my nephew Ben? Maybe he can take over the kitchen tomorrow and make breakfast for his parents. I don't know if Ben's watching or not, but maybe he can take over the kitchen and make some breakfast for his parents. That would be nice, wouldn't it, Penny? Ed says 2001 to 2020. Yeah, you're right. 19 years. It's going to be 20th already. My goodness. It's just the time's just flying so fast. Anything else going on? No, nothing going on YouTube at the moment. So we've got National Kids Take Over the Kitchen Day. You hear that, kids? Make some breakfast for your parents, kids. I'm talking to my kids now. Not that they're listening to me. Well, actually, they kind of are, unless they've zoned out already. But National Kids Take Over the Kitchen Day. National Peanut Day is tomorrow. Tomorrow is also National Uncle Sam Day. It's also National Celiac Disease Awareness Day. Oh boy, here's another one. I've got to load up the glass for this one. Tomorrow is National Bald is Beautiful Day. Yes, tomorrow is Bald is Beautiful Day. National Bald is Beautiful Day. I'll drink to that. Don't know why, but I'll drink to it. Here's the National Bald is Beautiful Day. Some very beautiful people were bald. People who were considered very beautiful people. I'd say famous people, too. Yul Brynner. I mean, he played a king in just about every one of those big MGM movies, didn't he? How many times did he play a king or a prince or something in a movie? Okay, I can think of several right now. But he was almost like well, he wasn't completely typecast, but Yul Brynner was typecast in several movies for playing that big. He could play a Persian king. He could play the king of the king of Siam. He could play like in The King and I. He could play a king from Ramesses from the movie The Ten Commandments. He could play. He's played princes and kings in a few movies, I think. But he's also played some other roles that were not related to that. But it almost seemed for a while that he was kind of typecast that way, didn't it? Although he did, another one of his memorable roles was when he played the gunslinger in Westworld. If you've never seen Westworld, the original Westworld, where he played a gunslinger, a robot gunslinger. And he was pretty good in that, too. Excellent in that. real handsome with his, in the black, outfit, the hat and the black cowboy hat and all that sort of thing. Um, and there was who else? I want to say Telly Savalas. I don't know. Telly Savalas, a famous person. I wouldn't call him. I don't know. He's very successful as an actor. And of course, who can forget Jean-Luc Picard, right? Sir. Yeah. Well, let's. I'm digressing again. I am really digressing. Uh, all right, Sir Patrick Stewart. He's everybody. The women loved him because he was bald. I don't want to go too far down this path, but let me just say, bald is beautiful, right? Right. Uh, Sinead O'Connor was bald. Let's move on. Okay, National Pet Memorial Day. Second Sunday in September is National Pet Memorial Day. It's also National Hug Your Hound Day, and it's also National Grandparents' Day. For all those grandparents out there, and for all those who are grandkids, remember your grandparents. It is National Grandparents' Day. Here's a National Grandparents' Day. And I am at that age, and so is my wife. We could be considered grandparents. We don't have grandkids yet. This is probably still a few years off, but hey. National Grandparents' Day. And if you're a grandparent or you're about to become one, you've been one, and now you're a great-grandparent, that's here's to you. National Grandparents' Day. I think that does it for the national days. Let's check the chats one more time, then I'm going to go into the next memorial thing that I have. I've got a special thing that I want to do. Let's see, Danik369 says, hello, friend. I've been seeing you streaming many times, but never said hi. The world was pretty, Westworld was pretty all right. Yeah, it's good to see you, Danik369. Yeah, Westworld, the original Westworld, in the future world, and then of course they've got a TV show that's a remake of it. I haven't really watched it much. I saw a little bit of it, but I'm a stickler for the originals. I like the originals. It's kind of like the same sort of thing like Day the Earth Stood Still and let's see, what was that? The one with Tom Cruise in it that was just hard. War of the Worlds. Is that what it was? I saw those. It was the originals are better. They're just better. They really are. And Danik369, okay, says, just shaved my head and cheers. Cheers to you. War of the Worlds, yes, War of the Worlds. The original War of the original War of the Worlds was really basically a radio drama. But before that, then they made movies out of it. They've made a number of movies out of it. And they made a couple of TV shows out of it. Several TV shows out of it, but the movie I'm talking about is the one that they did in the 50s. That I can't remember who was in it right offhand, but it was in color, and it's a classic. It's a classic. You got to check it out. The original War of the Worlds. Ed, you can probably help me out on that. You know a lot of who was in the original War of the Worlds. I forgot. But it's been so long since I've seen it. But and that's a movie I edited for television. As a matter of fact, I edited that movie. We had we aired it on WFL a few times, and I edited that for TV before on a couple of times. So let's see, where was it going? Oh yes. All right. Well, so there's something else that I wanted to talk about, and this is very special for me. There's another reason why I chose this Chianti. A specific reason. And the specific reason is because there's one more anniversary. I'll say an anniversary. It's sort of a memorial for tonight. Aside from a lot of the other things that have that we've toasted tonight on this date, a lot of the other national days. Today is a day that's kind of it's commemorative for my sisters and myself. for my family and myself. It's a personal thing, and this is the anniversary of the passing of my dad. On September 12th in 2016, my dad, Benjamin Savoya Sr., Jr., excuse me, Benjamin S. Savoya Jr. passed away. I am 2/3 of the way down the bottle. You might see me drink the whole bottle tonight. I tell you. Yeah, it's starting to hit me. Tonight is the 4 year. It's 4 years ago tonight that my dad passed away, and he was 84 years old. He was just a few months shy of turning 85 because his birthday was on December 11th in, let's see, 1931. And he was 84 years old when he passed away. It was just a few months shy of his 85th birthday. My dad, he passed away from cancer. And this is why, this is really kind of why I'm bringing this up. He is the third member of our family to pass away from cancer. Cancer, which is a hideous and terrible disease. And it was another wake-up call for all of us, the rest of us in the family, to go get ourselves checked, to go get, to constantly get ourselves checked out and monitored and make sure that we're cancer-free. And so far, knock on wood, things have been okay. But you never know. You never know. I mean, there could be something going on we don't know about. But hopefully we're fine. Hopefully we're fine. I've had a lot of different tests, over the years, over the last few years especially. And I encourage you, if you have not been checked for certain cancers, breast cancer, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, anything like that, if you have not been checked or if you have been screened for some of that stuff, please go get screened. Please do not mess around with this. This is a horrific disease. I saw what it did to my mom. My mom passed away, several decades ago, but she passed away from breast cancer, which actually, if she had caught it early enough, she was aware of it early enough, she could have, it was preventable, but by the time that she was able to get that checked out, it was too far into a system. I don't want to go too far into that, but I'll say that I think that my mom, I think if she had really reacted earlier, if things had if we found out about it earlier and if she'd reacted earlier and got treated earlier, I think there's a possibility she might still be with us today. It's possible. I don't know, but the possibility exists. My brother Tony, who was just the greatest guy around, really, just the greatest guy. He passed away in 2006 of cancer as well. It was another wake-up call for my brothers and myself. And then my dad passed away. He got cancer. He passed away in 2016, and 10 years later. And it was definitely something that I've thought more and more about since then, for a couple of reasons. One, because of the whole cancer. I mean, 3 people in the same family passing with cancer. It's something that you definitely want to be aware of, and be. You want to be diligent about staying on top of. So. I've been checked, and I go in for screenings and checkups and things like that. We try to be careful, but who knows? I do think about it a lot. I know my sisters think about it. My other family members think about it. So it's something we always keep in the back of our minds. Not something that we worry about on a day-to-day basis constantly. And it's not like, because you can worry yourself to death too, but it is something that we are aware of. But please, please, please go get yourself checked. If you haven't, especially if you've never been checked especially if you're getting up to that age or past that age where you need to be checked, please do not delay it. Go get checked. It might be a little discomforting. It might put you out a little bit. But look, it's better to be safe than sorry. It is. It really is. So please go get checked. And anyway, so for my dad, there are some things about my dad that my dad and I had a complicated relationship. And I was not alone in that. And I'm not going to get too far into that, but it's true with all of my siblings. My dad had kind of a complicated relationship with all of us. He was who he was. He was who he was. And I'm not faulting my dad with it. I made my peace with my dad. But we had a complicated relationship. And there were times, we had good times. There were some times that were very, very good. There were some times that were not great. But he was still my dad. And I still think about him a lot because his blood flows through my veins. He's still a part of me. You know, I have his DNA. So I am a product of my parents, of both my mother and my father, and especially my father. My father had a huge influence on me. My mother did too. My mother had a huge influence on all of us, and I think it's kind of what saved a lot of us, if I may be so bold in saying that. I think it was my mother who really, yeah, she helped keep us on an even keel. My dad, not so much. And we've all inherited some of my dad's traits to one degree or another, some to greater the degree than others. But and it's something that I have to fight all the time. I have to fight some of the, my dad's traits because he did have such an influence on me. And I was the eldest. I was the eldest in the family, and he had a lot of influence on me, especially early on. And they say that the eldest is pretty much the guinea pig and doesn't usually fare the best out of the family. But in my case, it was pretty true. I mean, I was the experimental kid where they my mom had the Dr. Spock book, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about Mr. Spock from Star Trek. That was before that. I'm talking about Dr. Spock, the child psychologist. Right. The person who was supposedly the expert in child rearing, but as I recall, I don't think he had any kids of his own, did he? I don't think he did. But but my dad was my dad, and I drew a lot of my personality early on from him, from watching him, because that's what a lot of guys do, and that's one thing. Dads everywhere, and this is one thing that I want to tell dads everywhere. If you're a dad, or if you're going to be a dad, if you're coming to be a dad, being a father is a tremendous responsibility. It's an awesome responsibility. It's a great responsibility, and it's very, very rewarding. It can be very, very rewarding, but it's also a very serious responsibility. And you have to take it seriously, because I'll tell you what, your kids will listen to what your mom says. They'll listen to what your mom says, to what their mom says. They'll listen to what their mom says, but they will do as their father does. They will watch their father and move as he does. Okay? They will emulate the father for a good part of this, unless the mother is very, very influential and is more influential than the father, or if the father is absent. If the father's there, you have both parents, I can tell you for a fact that they'll listen to the mother, but they'll watch the father. and they will try to emulate the father. The dad is pretty much the one that the kids generally, and this is a natural thing. This is a natural thing that the kids will will look up to and emulate. And you don't want to, and you get one crack at this. You only want to get one try at this, okay? Because the first time you screw it up, you screw it up. The father in a household is extremely important because they're so influential in the upbringing of the kids for that reason. The kids look to the dad basically as the person to emulate, as the person to watch, the person to follow. So no matter what the mom says, if the dad's doing something different, or if the dad isn't doing his marching to the beat of a different drummer, so to speak, the kid's watching that. That's what the kid's watching. And the kids take that to heart. A father's love is very important to a child. And the reason I'm saying this is because my dad was not the type of person, he was not really a kid person. He was not the type of person who was probably the best example for his kids. Okay. He had, like I said, he had some good traits. He did have some good traits, and some very admirable traits, by the way. But he also had some that were not the best. So why am I going there with this? Why am I talking about this? Well, because I want to give a little tribute to my dad, because I'm going to tell you something. When my mom passed away of cancer, it's a true story. When my mom passed away, I shed a tear or two, but I didn't really cry. I did not really cry, and the reason I didn't was because my relationship with my mom was pretty solid, and I knew she was going to be all right. And I had no reservations. I knew that her pain was gone and that she was going to be fine. And I was just kind of happy that she wasn't suffering anymore. And as much as she meant to me, and as I know I meant to her, I knew she was going to be fine. But when my dad passed away, that was different. I cried, and I'm going to say it. I cried. Because my dad, I always thought was someone who, I always kind of saw my dad as, I don't want to make this, but yeah, actually I did kind of see my dad as, looking at Star Wars as now he was not as bad as Darth Vader, okay? He was not, But I saw my dad as the one who was kind of astray, and especially with our relationship. And I saw myself as maybe someday I could have a real relationship with him, and I could see myself doing that. And I knew that as long as my dad was alive, as long as he was around, we could strive for that. We could go for that. There was always hope. There was always hope in my mind that there was something that we could strive for. But once he passed away, I knew that was over. That hope was gone. And that's why when my dad passed, I cried. Because I realized that, okay, my chance was gone. My dad's chance was gone for the both of us to have a real father-son relationship. And I'm not saying this to give you a lot of insight into all my personal life and that sort of thing, but I'm saying this because it's a life lesson to everyone who's a dad and who's a son or daughter, is that please make the most of those relationships. Make the most of those relationships in a positive way. Be there for your kids. And kids, listen to your dads. And, in this day and age, it's just such turmoil out there. The kids need their father. And the dads need to be responsible to their kids. They need to be responsible to their kids. And I'm not trying to preach or anything like that. All I'm doing is I'm just trying to relay the lessons that I learned, the life lessons that I learned with my relationship to my dad, to you, so that hopefully if someone's having those similar relationships with their family members, that they can get them resolved and can build their relationships stronger, because we definitely, especially in these times, we definitely don't need any more fracturing of the family than we already have. And I'm just saying that. Please be good to each other. To kids, look up to your father. Dads, be responsible adults and responsible examples to your kids. That's all. Before I go any farther, Danik369 says, I'm sorry to hear that. My mom survived it. I'm glad to hear that your mom survived it. The cancer. It's just a terrible disease. Fix the Fernback's in the chat. Good to see you. And it's a sweet berry wine. Yeah, Chianti is a sweet. Well, it's not a sweet. It's a dry. It's a very, very dry wine. Is that what you're drinking? You're drinking a berry wine? Raised 799 says, "What's up, Rick? Can I drink with you?" Of course you can. Drink whatever you want. Drink whatever you want. And it's okay if you drink water. That's fine too. Yeah, CM Sanders says anyone can drink with Rick. Gene Barry, early 1950s. Ed says Gene Barry, early 1950s, and that is true for the War of the Worlds. He's referring to who was in the War of the Worlds. Gene Barry, early 1950s. Yeah, I want to say it was 1954, 1956, I want to say. Maybe it was 52, I'd say. I have to go back and check. I don't remember. It's like I said, the dates are all getting hazy for me. Anyway, before we go any farther, there is something that I do want to share with you, and it's something about my dad. And I didn't mean to go. This wasn't intended to be a negative thing. It was just supposed to be a thing we can all learn from. But I want to tell you about my dad, because we had a complicated relationship, but I can tell you what, there were things that I did admire about my dad, and I'm going to show you some of these things right now. And that's not the thing I want to show you. That's the hamburger. Wrong image. Okay, for those of you who were asking about the hamburger before, and it did get, that was for later, that someone had left comments in YouTube about the hamburger. They really liked the hamburger, and I hadn't shown it for a while. I'll show it again. Why not? So for those who hadn't seen the hamburger for a while, there's the hamburger. We used to show this all the time, a lot. And yes, it is a nice hamburger. It was a homemade hamburger. That's the hamburger. But that's not what I was going to show you. That's what happens when you hit the wrong button. Okay, let me see where it is. It's right here. So let me show you this, and I will tell you a little bit about my dad. This was my dad when he just graduated from high school, 1950, I believe. And from 1950, he just graduated from high school, and out of high school he went into the. Let me go back here for just a moment. Out of high school, he went into the Navy. He enlisted into the Navy, and my dad. In the Navy, he did 4 years. He did a 4-year stint there, and some very interesting things that I found out that I'm going to share in just a minute or two, just a couple of minutes. But he was a longtime resident of Gainesville, Florida. My dad was, and as a matter of fact, my sister Penny wrote the obituary that appeared in Gainesville Sun back then. I'm reading from that actually. Thank you, Penny. He was a longtime resident of Gainesville, a University of Florida alumnus, and a Navy veteran. My dad, when he started off in the Navy, he and I've got his discharge papers right here. Very interesting things that I did not know about my dad. Now I did know. And I have told you stories about my dad before, stories about how he used to make wine. And that's one reason why we're here with the Chianti, because this was one of his favorite wines. But when he was, when he was in the Navy, and I got discharge papers, I'm holding him right here, and I did a little research on it because when he was in the Navy, he had some interesting experiences, and he had one that was somewhat traumatic for him, and he would never talk about it when he came back. As a matter of fact, when I would be digging around in some of his stuff in the garage, a couple of times I pulled up a newspaper clipping of a particular incident. This was with the USS Wasp. This was an incident. Some of you may know what I'm talking about. It was an incident where the Wasp collided with another ship. I think it was a tanker or something, and a lot of men lost their lives at sea that night. Well, he would never talk about it. I asked him about that, and he says, "Well, yeah, why the clipping? Why he had the clipping, and did it happen during his time?" And he would vaguely allude to say, "Yeah, I was there. It happened. I was stationed there," but he wouldn't talk about it. It was something that he just never talked about. In fact, he didn't really talk about his time in the Navy at all. Although I happen to have a number of slides, color slides, that one of these days I want to transfer to video with pictures of him and his Navy buddies on board an aircraft carrier, presumably the Wasp. A bunch of pictures on him on board an aircraft carrier. So here's some things about my dad. And Penn, if you're still here, I think you'll be and Gina, if you're going to step in here any point soon, I think you'll be interested in this because there's some things here about his time in the Navy that I did a little research on that you may not be aware of. And a couple of things I actually found out today when I was doing some more follow-up research. But my dad, and I'm reading this from his discharge papers. My dad enlisted in the Navy. He was born 11 December 1931 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's on his papers. He was 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighed 150 pounds. That's about what I weighed. Actually pretty close to my height and weight when just before I got married. He enlisted. He enlisted in the service. And he decided to enlist in the Navy. He enlisted on the 14th of May, 1951, as I just said, in Philadelphia. And, or did I say it? Well, I'm saying it now. There he is. And during his time, he took a couple of training courses. He went through boot camp, of course, and he took a couple of training courses. From September of 1951, about this time, to October of 51, and then again in November of 51 to February of 52. Now, I'm reading these off to you now because they have some significance as I go along. They have some significance later. So he was stationed, I guess, originally in Jacksonville, Florida. He took a couple of courses. When he was discharged on the 13th of May, 1955, with an honorable discharge from the Navy. He decided not to re-enlist. He just when his 4 years enlistment was up, he left, and then he was married by the time that he left. So he'd married my mom while he was still in the Navy. And then after he left, when he got into the Navy, he only had a high school degree. He had a full 12-year degree. He had full 12 years of school, 8 years of grade school, 4 years of high school, and he had his high school degree. And after he left the Navy, he went on to University of Florida to become a pharmacist, and he got his degree in pharmacy, and that was what his career was in pharmacy. So he was a pharmacist. Anyway, so while he was in the Navy, during that time, he was what he did in the Navy. He was an ordnance. He handled ordnance, and he did. Basically, what they did was he was stationed on an aircraft carrier. He was in charge of ordnance, and what he did was he would put the ordnance or monitor. And if you don't know, for those of you who don't know what ordnance is, the bombs, the the ammunition, any if they had missiles on board, the missiles, all the things that were the weapons. That's what he handled. He was in charge of that, and it's a kind of a serious thing. I think there are like 8,000 some odd people who are a specialty in ordnance, and that's what they do. And they have to. They're the ones in charge of handling the ordnance, and they have to. They're the ones that some of these guys, they mount the missiles on the planes, they load the bombs into the planes and all that sort of thing, and they load the machine gun, anything into the guns on board, the guns. They basically handle everything that's related to the ammunition, the ordnance, and it's a pretty serious position. It's very, very important position because these guys have to account for all that stuff. They have to set it up properly. They have to maintain it. They have to keep track of all of it. They have to account for all of it. It's very, very serious stuff. So his ranking was, I think he was of AO. His ranking was AO3. That was what he was, AO3. It was third class ordnance. Petty officer, third class, I believe. So that was his rank. So he would handle all this he'd be on the aircraft carrier, and he'd have to put the bombs on the planes and all that kind of stuff, and he had to handle all this and manage them. Anyway, so that was what his job was while he was in the Navy. And then when he left the Navy in May of '55, then he went on to University of Florida. And that was and I was born in 1959. I was born 4 years later in 1959, February 15th, 1959, as a matter of fact, in Alachua County, and in Gainesville, Florida. And my sister was born a couple of years later in Gainesville. So anyway, my dad, while he was in the Navy, there was an incident. He actually had two medals. He actually had two medals of honor. One was the National Defense Service Ribbon, and the other one was a Navy Occupation Service Medal. Now, this was during the Korean War, so my dad was actually serving during a wartime period, and he was stationed. The aircraft carrier he was on, and whatever, was dispatched out there in the Pacific. So he was in that general area, and there was an incident in. I'm going to go ahead and read this because this is actually, I'm going to use it from Wikipedia here. And so he was stationed on the USS Wasp, and so the Wasp reported to the Atlantic Fleet in November 1951 and began a period of shakedown training which lasted until February 1952. This is exactly in line, as I was alluding to earlier, to my dad's training, because he had his initial training September 1951 to October 1951. So in November 1951 to February 1952, that's actually on the sheet. From November 1951 to February 1952, he was doing his AOA training in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, this is what it says here, reading off of Wikipedia. It began a period of shakedown training which lasted until February 1952. My dad was actually part of this shakedown training. He was actually stationed on this thing. He was involved with the shakedown training. After returning from the shakedown cruise, She spent a month in the New York Naval Shipyard preparing for duty in distant waters. So he had a little leave time or stationed somewhere else. Well, so he was stationed on this carrier. On the 26th of April, 1952, the Wasp collided with the destroyer minesweeper Hobson while conducting night flying operations en route to Gibraltar. Gibraltar. I can't say. Too much wine. Gibraltar. Hobson lost 176 of the crew, including their skipper. Rapid rescue operations saved 52 men. Wasp sustained no personnel casualties, but her bow was torn by a 75-foot sawtooth rip. Now, this part, and this is completely in line with what my dad told me, because the only thing that my dad really told me about the incident, because from reading the newspaper clipping, all it's really said about the incident was that it collided with another ship. It didn't. I don't recall that it said what ship, but it said that it had it basically sliced up its hull, the front of its hull. What my dad told me had happened was that it collided with a ship. It cut into the front of the hull, just gouged out the front. And what they had to do was they had to, I think for the next 2 or 3 days, they had to go backwards. They had to drive this thing backwards through the water back to port to keep the water from coming in and to keep it from sinking. That's what I recall he told me. And that's the thing that stuck in my head all these years. It's like I remember that part of it where my dad told me that, yeah, they had to go in reverse and just go backwards into port for like 3 days. And it was kind of touch and go. It was kind of crucial. They weren't sure they were going to make it back to port, but they had to go back into port for 3 days. I think he said 3 days. I think that's what he said it was. And go back to port backwards so that the water would not go into the hull, into the front of the ship and sink the entire ship. So everything that he told me is completely in line with his discharge papers and completely in line with what I've got here on Wikipedia, is the report. And yeah, it was pretty traumatic. From what I understand, my dad saw a lot of people die that night. He saw a lot of people die, and they weren't enemy. They were friendlies, and it was including the skipper. And they had to rescue to save 52 men from the other ship. And it was kind of traumatic. It was kind of a traumatic experience for my dad, and it was something that he never forgot, and it was something that he never really talked about much. When I asked him for details, he would basically quickly shut me down on that and say, "No, I don't want to talk about it," basically. But that was my dad, and in some ways, I think things like that, they change people. And I can understand to a point why they kind of like he was the way he was in certain ways later on. Not very open to people and not very necessarily forthcoming and not really, not somebody that you could really approach. He was not really approachable except to some of his closest friends. So, and looking back at that incident, I can understand why he would be that way. And then of course my dad had other issues too, but basically for the most part I would think that I don't know how I'd react to something like that. It's kind of a traumatic experience. Anyway, I kind of want to share that with you to let you know for perspective that actually after reading this, I have a more understanding of my dad. That's the hamburger again. All right, I'm going to show you the short slice show, and then I think we're kind of done for that for the evening. RaysNet799 says, "What's up, Rick? Can I drink with you?" I think I did read that. Yes, I did. Danik369 says, "I have a big clump on throat and I'm behind the ear and I'm kind of scared to get it checked out. Please don't do that. Please go get checked out right away. Please get it checked out right away. Kind of quiet in the chat. I know this is kind of a somber topic. It's kind of a somber topic. Well, I'm going to show this slideshow to you for a minute. Take a look at it. Whoops. And that's not, once again, I keep throwing up that hamburger. My mistake. All right, here's the slideshow. This is my dad. He graduated from high school in 1950 and then enlisted in the Navy. Was discharged in 1955. That's what, in May of 1955. Now, my dad, of course, he married my mom. He had 6 kids. And there he is carving up a turkey during Thanksgiving, I believe. And notice that we're all drinking wine. Yes, the kids were all drinking wine. This is a different one from the one I showed you before. That's me. That's my dad holding me. I was the firstborn. That is me, the baby. And he's holding me in his arms. And my dad was... Oh, yeah, he was pretty good at the guitar. These are all out of order. I planned the slideshow in order, but it went out of order. My dad had a lot of good qualities. He taught himself how to play the guitar. And I wouldn't say he was the best at it, but for teaching yourself how to play guitar, he wasn't too bad. It was okay. And in the early days, I have some good memories of my dad where he did spend some time with me, and he would read with me, and he'd read to me sometimes. I do have some good memories of that. He was somebody that was home enough to where we all, he was there. It wasn't like he wasn't there. He was physically there. And that's my dog Donnie, my first dog. That was the one that was given to me when I was an infant. And my dad loved dogs. My dad loved dogs because he had dogs when he was a kid, and one of them saved his life. I think I told that story before. But my dad, my mom, and myself here in this photograph. And like I said, the early days, I have some pretty good memories of the early days. It was just basically the 3 of us early on. Then my sister Gina came along, and then there were 4 of us. And my dad, in addition to playing the guitar and all this sort of thing, he was a pharmacist, but he believed in holistic healing and he believed in organic gardening. So he tried to feed his family organically as much as possible. He had an organic garden and he would grow sunflowers and things like that too. This is very, very interesting. This I'm kind of proud of. My dad took this piano. He bought an old secondhand piano. Took it apart. It was pretty nasty looking. I do remember that. Took it apart and he polished it up and he completely refurbished this thing. He completely refinished it and put it back together. He took a piano apart completely and put it back together. I always thought that was pretty amazing. I watched him do this too. It was amazing, amazing process. That previous picture, he was with some of the squash that he grew in his garden. He grew some good vegetables. In his garden. That's my dad. That's at Jekyll Island, Georgia. That was me with my dad, my Uncle Jimmy, my dad's brother, Uncle Jimmy. My Uncle Jimmy was into filmmaking too. I've mentioned the camera, the first camera that I had, the first regular 8mm movie camera. That's me holding it. And that was the camera that I absconded from my dad, never gave back. This is my dad with... my son Tommy, when he was first born. This was outside, I think, a Macaroni Grill in Orlando in 2000, I believe. This is him with my kids, Tia and Tommy. We lived in our townhouse. So we did have a relationship. There was a period of time when my dad would come up or we'd go down there and we'd visit with him. This was for Tommy's birthday, one of Tommy's birthdays at my sister-in-law's house. And my dad would go there for the birthdays. I mean, he didn't interact a lot with the kids, but he made the effort to go. He would go there, and he would be there. My dad with my brother Tony. My brother Tony passed away in 2006. And, my dad loved his kids, but he wasn't one who could really show his emotions. I should say. My dad with a glass of wine. That's what he usually had in his hands, was a glass of wine, or later years a glass of brandy, but or something stronger, but a glass of wine. I don't know why it's showing that again. It's I think that's it for the slideshow. I thought there were a few more pictures on here, but I guess not. So anyway, that was the short slideshow of my dad. I wanted to give a toast to my dad. My dad was known for drinking wine. He was especially fond of Chianti, which is why we have the Chianti here. This is in honor of my dad, who passed away 4 years ago, at the age of 84, in Gainesville, Florida. By the way, here's an interesting coincidence. I want to share this with you. According to the discharge papers, the person who signed off on this, his name was T.D. Gaines. T.D. Gaines, Gaines. He signed off on it on May 13th, 1955. And by a coincidence, of course, my dad went to Gainesville. I don't know what that means, but it's just coincidence. T.D. Gaines, and then, of course, he goes right off to Gainesville and studies pharmacy at the University of Florida. And that's where my sister and I were born. Anyway, I hope this brought a little insight to my sisters, about my dad's service in the military. I probably went way too long on this than anybody wanted me to. But there's this to my dad. My dad, his a memorial 4 years ago, he passed away. Here's to my dad. Benjamin Sebastian Savoya Jr. All right, well, I guess that's that's pretty much all I got tonight. I didn't mean for it to be a downer, but I did kind of want to share that with you. There are just a couple other brief things I want to go into before we close up tonight. First of all, we have more storms on the way. I know you get tired of hearing me say that. We've got more storms on the way. The summer's not over yet, and hurricane season's not over yet. Please go get a weather radio. Go get an emergency kit together and get a weather radio. Get some kind of radio. And you can do that at buytwowayradios.com. Of course, I work for buytwowayradios.com. I'm the product manager there. I don't get paid any extra for this, okay? They're not paying me to do this. I'm just doing it because this is really more of a public service. But if you go to buytwowayradios.com, look, get a radio wherever you want to get it. It's okay. Just get one, please. But if you do get one from Buy Two Way Radios, use the promo code WINESHOW, WINESHOW. That's WINESHOW, and you'll get 5% off the entire order if you go to buytwowayradios.com to get it. And enough said about that. I just want to say we've got a couple more of these things coming off the coast, and last I heard, and I don't know. The hits keep on coming, don't they? We've got a couple more months before the end of hurricane season, folks. You really want to be prepared. Honestly, you really want to be prepared. Okay. Other than that, I just want to remind everybody that. International Podcast Day is coming up. It's coming up at the end of this month, on the 29th, or actually the 30th. The official day is the 30th of September. And last week I mentioned that we were planning to do something special for International Podcast Day this year. Last year what I did was I did the 24-hour Drink with Rick Marathon. We ran 24 hours. Every 2 hours, we ran another episode of Drink with Rick on the podcast, the Drink with Rick podcast. Not the live stream, the podcast. Did 24 hours. This year, we're going to do something a little bit different. This year, what we're going to do for International Podcast Day, we're going to start this on the 29th through the 30th. We're going to do another kind of a marathon. We're going to replay on Twitch. We're going to replay the very first episodes of Drink with Rick. And this is for the folks on Twitch. We're going to replay the very first episodes of Drink with Rick. I have had too much, haven't I? That have never been seen on Twitch before. They were never shown because we actually didn't show up on Twitch until halfway through the first season. And the first 5 or 6 months of episodes, were never seen on Twitch. So we're going to replay those. Should be very entertaining. Very entertaining, because I went through a few bottles of wine. I went through. It'll be entertaining. Trust me. And we're going to do something really special. The 29th is my son's birthday. Tommy is going to have his 21st birthday. And you know what that means. You know what that means. It's time to bring out the wine. My son's going to be 21 years old on the 29th of September. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a special 1 hour live. Yeah, it will be only 1 hour. We're going to do a special 1 hour live stream for Drink with Rick. And what we're going to do is we're going to have him for the first time taste a red, a white, and a rosé. And he's going to taste them himself for the first time and test them. We can all see together. We can all drink with him together as he tastes his first wines. That should be very entertaining. So that's what we're going to do on the 29th. So please join me for that. Also, we're planning a crossover episode with his podcast, Cube Command. And I know you know Tommy does a show called Cube Command, and he does gaming and pop culture and movie reviews and things like that. I'm going to be on his show, and he's going to interview me, and we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, sci-fi movies and TV shows, and kind of how they're related to gaming and the history of video games in sci-fi. There should be a lot of fun. So I hope you'll join us for that on the Cube Command podcast. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on that we've got planned, and we're still sort of fleshing it all out, but on the 29th, it should be a lot of fun. 29th and 30th for International Podcast Day. So that's all I've got tonight, and it's a good thing, too, because we're going on 2 hours, and I said I was going to keep it to 1, didn't I? Yeah. So, yep. So let's see if anybody's still with us. Garrick Dude's with us in the chat. He says, hey, Rick, I really wanted to pick your brain on vaccines. Any thoughts? Evil, right? I don't have any opinion on it right now myself. Vaccines. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm just, I don't know. I don't have really an opinion on it per se. I mean, I'll get a vaccine if I have to get a vaccine, if they tell me I have to get one. But I'm not, I'm not adverse to them. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not a conspiracy theorist of any sort. So I don't know. For the COVID one, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Brush Boy is in the chat. Brush Boy, good to see you. He says, Rick, what's your take on alien life? Alien life. I didn't believe in it before, but I tell you what, after looking at the last year or two out across the country, I think that's a lot of it out there. It's a lot of that stuff that's going on is just alien to me because it goes. I don't know. I don't understand any of it. There's just a lot of stuff going on. It's just crazy stuff going on in the world. I think it's all crazy. I don't know if the aliens are coming. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not going there right now. I mean, I like to watch sci-fi movies about aliens and stuff like that because it's kind of fun. Alien life, that's another topic for another time. I can tell you what, though, I've seen plenty of it right here. I can tell you that. I've seen plenty of alien life right here. And that's as far as I'm going with it. Goric Duda says, what's your favorite drink? Well, I'm drinking it right now. Which brings me, it was great segue, by the way, because that brings me to our final review of the night. Here's our final review. What we've been drinking tonight is the Chianti. This is a Gaetano D'Aquino Chianti Reserva. It is a 2016. This is actually a pretty good wine. I'm really impressed with it. for the price. I mean, it's not the best Chianti in the world. It's not it's definitely not the worst, but I'm pretty impressed with it for the price. I think it holds its own on the price wise, because this thing was only $5.99. It cost me only $5.99, and I think for $5.99 it's a pretty good value, because look, I could taste drinking this wine. There's some cherry. A little bit of cranberry in it, and I could taste some strawberry along that. It's a little bit on the oaky side, not much. A little bit earthy, not much. It's quite tannic. It has a lot of tannin in it, which goes great with some of the foods here that we've tried tonight. The spaghetti, the steak, the cheeses, all the cheeses it went pretty well with. It's very dry. So you don't like a dry wine, this might not be the wine for you, but if you like dry, I'd say this is a good bet. This is a sure bet if you like dry wines. And I like dry. And it's kind of medium bodied, and it's very it's kind of acidic, so which is one of the reasons why it goes pretty well with what the foods that we tried tonight. I did promise before we go that we would try it with the brownies, so we're going to do that now. By the way, this wine is available at not wine store, at Trader Joe's. I'm used to saying wine store, but this is Trader Joe's, local Trader Joe's for $5.99. That's pretty good. We're back to wine store wines, I think, next week. Let's try it with the brownie, though. I'm not a big brownie fan, but this is, well, I'll try it. I'll take one for the wine. Actually, a good brownie, by the way. My wife makes them. I'm just not crazy about brownies. But if I was going to eat a brownie, I'd eat her brownies. They're very good. So she's great with the brownies. And the cookies. Oh, man, the cookies are good. She makes some great chocolate chip cookies. Not bad with the brownie. Chiantis make pretty good dessert wines, too. A lot of different desserts. But it actually does pretty good with the brownie. So that's all I have tonight. About time, some of you are saying. Going along again. Anyway, I want to thank everyone who's joined me in the chat tonight. Next week, well, we'll see what happens next week. I'm not sure we're going to review next week, but hopefully it'll be something really good. I want to thank everyone who joined me in the chat tonight. I want to thank Ed. I want to thank my lovely wife, Chi, and Ed Panis. And it's either two Eds in here, Ed Anthony and Ed Panis. Thanks for joining me in the chat tonight. I do appreciate each and every one of you being here. Also, I was on Twitch. We had a lot of people on Twitch showing up tonight. We had CM Cinder, Tom Antio, Add Me Friend Juan. It's always good to see you in the chat. Erica Trudis. You know what? Argentina, I'm going to remember that. Argentina wines are great, and I love the one that we had a couple of weeks ago. I appreciate your being here. Danik369, I want to thank you for being here tonight. And Fix the Fern Back, thank you for being here. Ray799, Brush Boy, Garrick Dude, I want to thank you all for being with me here tonight. Once again, the show is really not anything without you being there. So I do appreciate each and every one of you. Once again, the podcast version of the show goes up at 10 p.m. Eastern on Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern on Monday nights, www.drinkwithrick.com. You can reach me at rick@savoyamedia.com, rick@savoyamedia.com. That's the email address that you can contact me. I want to thank you for being here with me tonight. Please do not drink and drive. Drink in the comfort of your home, your apartment, your studio, your hotel room, wherever you are. Please do not drink or drive. Call an Uber, call a Lyft, whatever you have to do. But do not drink and drive. Please do not text and drive, because that's very dangerous. That's almost worse than drinking and driving. Well, they're all both pretty bad. I don't know which is worse, but they're both pretty bad. Don't do either, okay? Don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. Because I want you to have a safe week. And I want you to have a great week. And I want you to join me here next week on the Saturday Night Wine Stream. And we can all get together and drink with Rick. Good night.